video and the audio of the shootout in Watertown that we've been playing and that you commented on, that you just said a minute ago, this 19-year-old, he hasn't engaged us. He has not. The last engagement was done by the older brother, which would probably fit into the theory of him being a driving force. Certainly doesn't exonerate the younger from any responsibility, but he was a driving force.
Yeah, Big Brother was leading the way. We see here and again, very difficult to make out the full exchange as far as who was present in this neighborhood. But obviously this was a result of the information that was released by the federal authorities. They were able to strategically show the video of the two individuals, suspect number one, suspect number two, navigating through the crowd, the release of digital still photos, and it changed the dynamic of the investigation. And this was really critical, and thus here we are really trying to flush this out.
Finally, this is almost old-fashioned manhunt, the crime spree that occurred during the 1920s, the Depression, and the foundation of the FBI. We haven't seen this type of a manhunt in this region of the country in a very, very long time, looking for someone like this. The only other thing I can relate this to in recent memory was the Sudanese Liberation Army, when they were holed up, and I believe it was in Philadelphia, in a home, and incendiary devices were put in, but in the middle of a residential area, we had this type of activity.
Well, you know, as you mentioned regionally, here in the Northeast, again, just we don't see these things, and we can draw a parallel. I remember the whole Michael Dorner LAPD event in that short window on the West Coast.
Right.
I remember watching the news media and just saying, you know, how could this be? You know, how can you hide out for so long, and when is he going to surface? And here we are talking about it right here in our backyard.
Let's draw a comparison, because we still have another moment here before we toss it back. But he was a trained police officer. He wouldn't you agree that he was more dangerous? Well, I guess they're both dangerous, but he was more resourceful on the run than this young man would be, correct?
His training, his military training, his law enforcement training, a major police department, LAPD, in really trying to see the strategy and understand his tactics. It would definitely have, even life experience, would aid to his level in commitment and in his drive. And the other thing too, different motivation. He was out to clear his name. He felt that he was, you know, met with some type of injustice. So the motivation was completely different in this case. And so now we see here this suspect number two, 19 years of age, a well-liked kid, apparently by statements made by his classmates. And it's, again, just remarkable to see how these events are turning.
He will, I think you said this earlier, he will make mistakes. The gentleman in Los Angeles, he knew that I'm taking hostages. Didn't he take a couple with him, an older couple, and he said, we're going to stay here. This gentleman may not have that kind of a resource.
What was interesting about that case with Michael Dorner, the couple that he had taken hostage, he had made a statement to them. I don't have I'm paraphrasing, of course, Jim, but I don't have a beef with you. I just want to clear my name.
Right.
You know, so, and again, an emotional appeal, thus certainly, you know, the focus of a manhunt, but he's got to be running out of friends. There's no place for him to turn.
Okay, Todd, I believe Ock has a question for you. And Todd, Ock, go right ahead.
Todd, several hours of daylight still to go here, but I do want to ask you, because we had this situation last night. Talk about an investigation like this when it goes from day into night, and how nightfall would impact their search for the suspect.
Great question, Mark. Now the first responders here on scene, both these small units being deployed, both SWAT, there's an element of the advantage of daylight just for visual acuity and visual, the benefit of daylight. And as the day really just kind of we're losing time here, movement could become significant in the later hours. And last night there's apparently a comfort zone based on the engagement at outside the home. They were obviously out of the house, eyewitnesses brought the authorities to the location through whatever intelligence that was gleaned off of sources. But there's a familiarity and a comfort with moving it in the cover of darkness. So absolutely great point to bring up, that this is going to impact the time lapse in the day, loss of daylight is going to significantly impact this process.
All right, Todd McGee, anti-terrorism expert, Jim Polito, Fox 25 commentator. Let's go back to Ak and Sarah at the main desk.
All right, guys, thank you very much. And we want to get you caught up to date again as the situation continues to be the same in many respects as far as we know. We don't know what's going on as far as law enforcement is concerned, obviously. Still awaiting a press conference update. The last one we had was at 12:30 today. So we can only assume that the investigation is, clearly moving along as authorities permit. So we also want to update you on where our crews are and what they're hearing out in the field, as well as we continue this massive manhunt for suspect number 2 in the deadly bombings in Monday at the Boston Marathon. It's Mark Ockerblum along with Sarah Underwood, and again, several reporters out and about in Watertown, also in Cambridge, which seem to be the two areas right now where there is a massive police presence, certainly in Watertown as well as it has been for several hours now.
Let's check in with Bob Ward right now. He is in Watertown now, and it's very quiet now around you, Bob, but there is so much activity going on behind the scenes in a lot of the photos that we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. It is quiet now, but I suspect it won't be for very long. We are on the outside of the perimeter, Arsenal Street in Watertown. This perimeter is huge, about a 20-block area through Watertown, going back into Cambridge. And so where we are, what we're able to see ourselves are the movements of the police and the military as they come by us, and you can see some of the vehicles coming through now. Over behind me, just a few blocks away from one of the search sites, you might be able to see some of the military-style vehicles that are here, an MBTA bus, which the MBTA is shut down. That MBTA bus is being used to transport state troopers and other police officers back and forth from the scene. And this is just the way that it's been today. We've seen police officers dressed in full riot gear with their assault weapons drawn. We've seen them walking behind us. We've seen dog teams go through. We've even seen Black Hawk helicopters in the sky. But right now things seem to have quieted down from where we are. And of course we're awaiting that controlled explosion where the state police are hoping to render something safe at the suspect's house. That's over in Cambridge. That's a good distance away from here. But all of this because we still don't know where suspect number 2 is. Suspect number 1 killed overnight in a horrible chain of events, wearing an IED that was attached to him. There's some question, did he trigger it purposely? Was he run over? A lot of questions still need to be answered on what exactly happened, how suspect number 1 was killed. But suspect number 2 has not been found. And now this area behind me is the scene of an incredible search. As I mentioned, canines out here, bomb sniffing dogs, police officers going door to door in full riot gear, going door to door looking for this guy. So a very tense situation here in Watertown. And of course, on the other side of things, we are awaiting official word, press briefing from authorities, whether it's the FBI, the state police, Boston police, all of the above. We are still waiting for some kind of confirmation on what has already taken place and what is going on right now. So that's kind of the scene out here in Watertown. I have to say that with all the show of force from law enforcement, I've never seen anything like it. This really is a military operation that is going into place right now. And you just imagine the amount of training that was spent getting ready for this very moment. So we have no indication when this might wrap up. It seems like it's going to be some time. Sarah, Mark?
Bob, thank you very much. And I do want to, Bob, you may want to listen to this as well. Boston Globe is tweeting apparently that after the shootout, allegedly, suspect 2 fled the scene and ran over his brother as he was fleeing the scene as well. That was following that shootout, which makes you wonder, and we can talk with Todd McGee more about this as we get along here this afternoon, whether or not that brother was involved in the shootout and may explain the amount of gunfire which was so prevalent last night and late at night. So again, Boston Globe tweeting that after the shootout, suspect number 2 allegedly fled the scene and ran over his brother in the process, who of course is now deceased.
We want to go over to Heather Hedges now, who is also in Watertown at the Watertown Mall. And Heather, I understand you have some new information for us.
I do have some new information. First of all, you can see they're putting up a tent right here, and that's because they're going to be giving a news conference now. That news conference that had been pushed back, we are learning, is going to be happening at 5:30, and we're learning that Governor Patrick and Mayor Menino will be delivering that press conference. I asked Boston Police, who was just answering some questions for us, if the FBI would be there. It doesn't seem like the FBI will be addressing us, which is interesting because, as you know, the FBI is in charge of this investigation. I can also tell you that Boston Police PIO Cheryl Fiandaca, the press information coordinator, has been giving just clearing up this timeline a little bit, and she had some new information for us on this. There had been a question about whether this armed robbery in Cambridge was related to all of this. She said she had heard that, but at this point they do still think the armed robbery was how this all began, this brazen armed robbery that then led to the shooting and killing of an MIT police officer. And she said what happened here in Watertown was definitely a shootout between the suspects and the cops. She says that's when the older brother, Tamerlan, was shot. She says she is almost certain that Tamerlan was shot by a police officer, that he did not shoot himself, but that the fire came from a police officer. And she said that stolen Mercedes that they had hijacked is what they believe Jakar, the younger brother, got away in. She also confirmed that Jakar did run over Tamerlan with that Mercedes as he was trying to flee police. I asked her if that was because the brothers got into some sort of argument. Why would he run over his brother? And she seemed to indicate that Tamerlan was already dead at that point, and the other brother was just trying to get away, and that was the only way out, was by driving over his brother's dead body. So we're still getting information in about what really went down here in Watertown, but it seems like they are still looking for this Mercedes. The Boston Police spokeswoman couldn't tell me what color or what kind of Mercedes or what kind of plates that Mercedes has. Again, it was hijacked, so the registration wouldn't go back to these suspects. But there had been a report recently that there was a gray Honda Odyssey, too, that police might be looking for with mass plates, and state police tell me that that was located in Cambridge, and that alert was canceled. So it does seem like they're still looking for the Mercedes, and that's what they believe Jakar might be driving. So 5:30, Governor Patrick, Mayor Menino will be giving a press conference out here, and we will keep you posted. As you can see, it is raining a little bit, so we'll have to see if that's affecting what's going on behind me. We'll keep you updated. Back to you in the studio.
All right. Thank you so much, Heather.
All right, let's go now to Crystal Haynes, who is also in Watertown. Crystal, what can you tell us?
Well, right now, for now, the police activity seems to be a bit calm if you just take a look over my shoulder. But I can tell you there have been a lot of armored vehicles, SWAT vehicles, FBI agents, state police agents, local police, all here descending upon this neighborhood. Of course, we all know that that shelter-in-place order is still in effect. And there are a few people that are poking their heads out on their porches and things like that, trying to decide what's going on, trying to see if they feel safe at this point. But right now, you can see that the police activity has died down a bit. Of course, the investigation, the search for this second suspect is still ongoing, and as we get more developments, we'll bring them to you.
Very good. Crystal Haynes getting back to us as well from Watertown. And want to update you again that new news that we have now. Again, they had a press conference at 12:30, and now Heather Hidges reporting just moments ago that the governor and Mayor Menino will also be holding a press conference coming up at 5:30, so that'll be in a little bit less than an hour, and hopefully we'll get some more answers at that time. If you're just joining us again, the manhunt continues for 19-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. He and his brother are from Chechnya in Russia. They've been in this country, though, for 10 years. The brother is now deceased. The older brother, 26-year-old Tamerlan, died last night in a shootout with police. And as Heather also reported, it has been confirmed by Boston Police as well that the brother involved in that shootout, along with his brother, the younger brother, then got in a car and fled, ran over his brother in the process following that gun battle, and remains on the loose at this hour, focus of a massive manhunt. And you can see the type of armed police that we have here. This is a shot on the left side. This is earlier video. So, as we said, some of our points and some of our reporters in Watertown have said things have become a bit more relaxed, but still, if you look around Watertown and you go there now or any of the surrounding communities, you'll see police with guns drawn, ready just in case.
All right, and it is a very dangerous situation, even if it's quiet in your neighborhood. This guy, suspect number 2, is armed and dangerous, and we all know what he is capable of. So police, the FBI, the governor is asking you to stay indoors. We are talking to you in Boston, Cambridge, Watertown, Newton, Belmont, Waltham, Brighton. Subways, buses have been suspended. Of course, colleges, schools closed for the day, as well as businesses. They say do not congregate with a lot of people in one area, again, because we know what suspect number 2 is capable of.
And again, if you're